on the news.
Protect life in every state.
Pounding the pavement, fighting for the unborn. We're looking ahead to the 2025 March for Life. And we're meeting parents who chose life despite a discouraging prenatal diagnosis.
When stand-up comedian Keith Alberstadt and his wife Leslie found out their baby would have Down syndrome, they prayed for a miracle. And they got it. I'm Jessica Easthope. That story is coming up.
Plus, U.S. bishops have a message for parents who made the opposite decision, telling them our Lord loves you. Then this.
My fellow New Yorkers, as we reflect on the state of our great state, the Empire State, our future depends on the ability of every family to afford the essentials of life.
But the state of abortion laws in New York is still a huge challenge for the pro-life movement. We'll listen to what the governor had to say. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. One step at a time. Roe may be gone, but the March for Life will move on. We are counting down the days until January 24th. The goal always remains the same: end abortion now. Ahead of the March for Life, Currents News will introduce you to people who chose it. But sometimes it's not always the common choice. According to the National Institutes of Health, nearly 85% of people with a prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome will get an abortion. But not Keith and Leslie Alberstadt. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has their story from Bloomfield, New Jersey.
She had a heart defect, which has since been repaired. She's doing great, but all that they said, not uncommon. Not uncommon. And every time I heard that, I had the same question. So then common.
Stand-up comedian Keith Alberstadt makes people laugh and smile for a living.
Who wants to do a puppet show? Hello, everybody. Hi.
These days, he gets that joy back tenfold at home.
The negative messaging and the jokes and whatever, I'm going to use my platform to give people the other view, the positive messaging of what it's like having somebody with Down syndrome in your life.
Keith and Leslie live in Bloomfield, New Jersey with their 3 kids, 4-year-old Eleanor, 3-year-old Eileen, and 1-year-old Joseph. When Leslie was 20 weeks pregnant with Eileen, she got a terrifying call.
There was just doom and gloom. She still, said the term termination twice in that phone call. The phone call was less than 5 minutes. It's just, it was sad.
Before Eileen was born, her Down syndrome diagnosis left Keith and Leslie with a lot of questions.
One thing that I learned was how much to trust God.
God knows what he's doing, and she's so perfect with Down syndrome.
Just shy of 4 months old, Eileen had heart surgery. Today, she's thriving and competing with Keith for funniest member of the family.
Get rid of me?
He's happy to take second place.
Once we had a daughter with Down syndrome, we became advocates, and it became something that I wanted to talk about on stage.
Here, there's this seed planted, and I think about, with Keith's comedy, you meet Eileen, and then you get a prenatal diagnosis later on of Down. You're gonna think of Eileen.
As Eileen grows, so does Leslie and Keith's advocacy, not only for their daughter, but for every child whose life has been undervalued.
Let's give the parents resources earlier. Congratulations, your child has Down syndrome. Congratulations.
So when Keith steps on stage, he knows Down syndrome has made his heart and his platform larger. And that's no joke. In Bloomfield, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
She is too adorable. Keith has been seen on several late-night shows and has written for Saturday Night Live. You can catch some of Keith's upcoming comedy by visiting keithcomedy.com. Now to more on the March for Life. We have busloads of pro-life advocates going down to Washington, D.C. from the Diocese of Brooklyn, and Bishop Robert Brennan will be leading the way. Let's take a look at the route they're going to take along the National Mall. After a rally in front of the National Monument, everyone will get on their way. Organizers say walking this way past the Capitol and finishing between that and the Supreme Court not only marks the victory over Dobbs, but also shows the need to maintain a pro-life presence in Washington. The national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, John Lavenberg, will be there for all the action. He joins us now for a preview. Hi, John.
Hi, Christine.
So, John, the USCCB released a statement ahead of the 52nd anniversary of the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision, and it was a little different this year. It focused on parents who have had abortions. What was their message to them?
Yeah, that message specifically came from Bishop Daniel Thomas of Toledo, who's the U.S. Bishop's new pro-life chairman. His message to parents who've had an abortion was simply, "Our Lord loves you." He called them and all Catholics to prayer and also to reconciliation as the Catholic community continues its fight in the pro-life movement.
Now, some parishioners in the Diocese of Brooklyn, like you, are getting ready to head to D.C. for next Friday's march. They'll be led once again, as we said, by Bishop Brennan, who will help close out the National Prayer Vigil for Life. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so every year the USCCB and the Catholic University of America host the National Prayer Vigil for Life at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. on the eve of the March for Life. That concludes the next morning with a Mass, and this year that Mass will be led by Bishop Brennan, and he will celebrate and then make his way over to the march with parishioners from the Diocese of Brooklyn and all across the country.
Nice. And it's interesting. The March for Life will take place this year, just days after President Donald Trump is sworn in again. So what are the expectations for the event this year?
You know, Christine, what's interesting is I was there when days after President Biden was inaugurated at the March for Life. I was there at the March for Life after Roe was overturned in 2022. And this year, the march will take place right after President Trump was inaugurated. And what keeps going through my mind as I think about what I can expect and what can happen is that through all of those times, the passion of the marchers, the message of the marchers has never wavered. And so I expect that will continue this year as they're still determined to carry out their message and to make the country pro-life and to end abortion nationwide.
Yeah, the event also comes just a couple months after Proposition 1 passed in New York, which enshrines abortion on demand with no restrictions at any point during pregnancy into the state's constitution. So it's really an uphill battle in New York, right?
Absolutely. And one thing that happened when Roe was overturned and abortion law was sent back to the states is it really created extremes going both ways. You know, we saw in some states, as the Catholics have advocated for, abortion has become illegal. We've also seen, though, the other way in places like New York and California, abortion has become available on demand. So that is really where the pro-life movement has shifted to really the state level and advocating at the statewide level so those laws can change. And again, just advocate that pro-life message nationwide and bring an end to abortion.
All right, John Lavenberg, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux. Thanks for the preview.
Thanks, Christine.
And as we do every year, we will bring you full coverage of the march. Just tune in at 11:45 a.m. on January 24th for a live update. We'll hear from John Lavenberg and Currents News' Katie Vasquez, who will be in the nation's capital reporting on the pro-life demonstration. And of course, for full coverage of the March for Life, tune in later that night, Friday, January 24th at 7 p.m. for Currents News. If you're not able to join the Diocese of Brooklyn in D.C., there's still an opportunity to make your pro-life voice and prayers heard. The Knights of Columbus are celebrating the annual Diocesan Pro Vita Mass on Sunday, January 19th at the Cathedral Basilica of St. James. The Mass will begin at 11 a.m. and will be shown live right here on Net TV. New York is widely known as the abortion capital of the country. The procedure is now enshrined into the state's constitution. But during her State of the State address on Tuesday, Governor Kathy Hochul made no mention of it, although she did talk about fighting for New York families.
My commitment to every New Yorker is this: your family is my fight.
The governor is proposing universal child care, expanding child tax credits, and giving out inflation refund checks. Hochul also spoke about her plans to combat crime in the city, including putting police officers on every single subway train overnight for the next 6 months. Still, when it comes to abortion, it is a battle in New York State, but the bishops have made a pro-life pledge to work toward a new future. They conceded that the procedure will probably continue to go unfettered in the state, but they're sending a message to moms in need. We will not abandon you. They made a pledge that any woman, regardless of beliefs or situation, can come to the Catholic Church and get the services and supports she needs to carry her baby to term. They also launched a resources page. Just go to nyscatholic.org/help for moms, and you can find a pro-life center by you. There's also a statewide map that directs you to local Catholic parishes that have ministries available. In the Diocese of Brooklyn, there are a number of places ready to help. There are currently 2 pregnancy centers, the Life Center of New York on 5th Avenue in Brooklyn and the Bridge to Life in College Point, Queens. In terms of housing options for young mothers with children, there are actually 5 options. 3 Providence houses, one on Church Avenue in Brooklyn, one on Prospect Avenue, Brooklyn, and one in Jamaica, Queens. There's also 2 more Brooklyn centers, the Rose Kennedy Family Center on Halsey Street and Bethany House on Sidham Street. And that is this Currents News Update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. We leave you now with this question. What do you do to promote life?